All right, let's dive in. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Awesome. Today we're going all Judge Judy on you.
Oh, I love Judge Judy.
Right? Who doesn't? Right? She's like the queen of no nonsense.
Absolutely. She cuts right through all the BS.
Exactly. And we went through a bunch of her cases, and let me tell you, some of these are gonna have you shaking your head.
Oh, I bet. You know what's fascinating about Judge Judy is it's like she's holding up a mirror to like everyday life, you know?
Totally. Like all these conflicts over money, relationships, you name it, it's all there. It's like pure entertainment, but also, it makes you think, like, what would I do in that situation?
Right. Like, could I handle that kind of pressure?
Exactly. So, okay, first up, we've got this case, the GoFundMe gone wrong. And this one is it's a bit of a head-scratcher.
Okay, laid it on me.
So there's this guy, right, and he lends his friend $1,500.
Okay, standard friend loan. Happens all the time.
Right. But then the friend unfortunately passes away.
Oh, wow. So what happens then?
Well, the lender, he decides to, take matters into his own hands. He goes and withdraws the money he's owed, but get this, he does it from his deceased friend's account.
Whoa, hold on. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, and it gets even crazier. He also starts redirecting some GoFundMe donations that were meant for the friend's family.
Seriously, he thought that was okay.
He claimed his friend wouldn't have wanted his wife to get the money. But Judge Judy, she was not having it. She shut that down real quick.
Good for her. That's totally overstepping, even if he had good intentions.
Right. So, this whole situation, it raises a big question, right? Like, what happens when good intentions clash with the law?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like, where do you draw the line?
Exactly. And, dying without a will, it seems like that just complicates everything.
It does. It really throws a wrench in the works. Things can get messy.
So, what actually happens legally when someone dies without a will? What's the process?
Well, it triggers something called intestate succession. Basically, the court steps in and distributes the assets according to state law.
So it's not just a free-for-all.
No, not at all. There's a specific order of who inherits. Usually it's the spouse and children first, and then, if there are none, it goes to the other relatives.
Okay, so in this case, the friend really messed up by, not going through the proper channels, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He should have consulted with a lawyer, or at least, figured out the legal process before doing anything.
Right, because, even if he thought he was doing right by his friend, he ended up creating a whole legal mess.
Exactly. It's a classic example of how good intentions don't always equal good legal decisions.
All right, so let's move on to a case that's all about relationships. And this one is, well, let's just say it involves some questionable choices.
Hit me with it.
So this case, it's called The Sugar Baby's Expensive Tastes. And it features this young woman who goes to some pretty extreme lengths to visit her boyfriend who's, he's in jail.
Oh, wow. That's quite the commitment.
Right. But here's the kicker. She's financing this whole thing with her other boyfriend's credit card.
Whoa, wait, she's got two boyfriends and one's in jail. This is getting complicated.
Oh, it gets even better. She tries to justify all this spending by saying she needs it for her dopamine.
Her dopamine? What does that even mean?
Right. It's like she's using a buzzword to excuse her irresponsible behavior.
And exploiting somewhere financially, that's not cool.
Exactly. And Judge Judy, she saw right through it. She was not buying any of it.
Good. She's got a good BS detector.
But as if the credit card thing wasn't bad enough, this woman also took her other boyfriend's cat without permission, which is like a whole other level of messed up.
Wait, she took the cat? What happened to the cat?
Sadly, the cat ended up dying because of it.
Oh, no, that's awful. That's just heartbreaking.
I know, right? It's like, come on, how could you be so careless?
And stealing someone's pet, that's not just a moral issue. It's actually illegal.
Okay, so let's move on to a case that might hit a little closer to home for some listeners, car loan chaos. This one involves a woman who lends her friend $1,500 for a down payment on a Mercedes.
Okay, I've been there. Lending money to friends can be risky.
Tell me about it. So the friend crashes the car, then gets another pricey car, a Tesla, no less, and only repays a small part of the loan.
Oh, no. Classic case of someone not taking their financial obligations seriously.
And Judge Judy really gave him a piece of her mind about it. She even pointed out how it's often women who end up lending money in these situations. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. I wonder if it's a societal thing, maybe women are expected to be more helpful or compassionate. I don't know. It's something to think about for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But regardless, this case is a good reminder that even with friends, you need to have clear agreements when it comes to money.
Absolutely. It can save you so much trouble down the line. Write things down, make it official,
Okay, so let's dive into the world of neighbor drama with this next case. The keyed car cul-de-sac. Get this, a man accuses his neighbor of keying his car.
Oh boy, neighbor disputes are always messy. Everyone's got their own version of the story.
Right. And then the neighbor, she denies it, of course, and then countersues, saying that her car was keyed too. And then, wait for it, her husband jumps in and claims that his car was keyed as well.
Whoa, hold on. Everyone's getting keyed. What is going on in this cul-de-sac?
It's like keying central. And, it gets really interesting because the husband brings up this old incident with his truck, but Judge Judy says it's irrelevant to the current case.
Why do you think he felt the need to bring it up then? Seems like he's holding on to some past grudge.
It's like he's trying to justify his feelings, like, well, they did this to me before, so they must be doing it again.
Yeah, it's like everyone's on edge and looking for someone to blame, and when emotions run high, logic tends to go out the window.
Exactly. And then, to make matters worse, the neighbor insists on walking her dog right past the accuser's house, even though they have this whole history. Like, come on, are you trying to provoke something?
It's like she's adding fuel to the fire, Sometimes it's better to just avoid potential triggers, especially when there's already bad blood.
Right. Okay, ready for another neighborly dispute. This one is called the covered truck collision. And let me just say, the logic here is, well, it's lacking.
Oh, I love a good illogical argument. Tell me more.
So this guy, he hits his neighbor's parked truck, which was covered with a tarp.
Okay, that's not ideal, but stuff happens, right?
Right. But get this. He tries to blame the neighbor for parking illegally and for having the truck covered. Like, seriously.
No way. Is he trying to say it's the truck's fault for getting hit?
Basically, he's like, well, if the truck wasn't there or if it wasn't covered, I wouldn't have hit it.
Oh, come on. That's ridiculous. You can't just go around hitting things and blaming the object for being in your way.
Right. It's all about personal responsibility. But this guy, he's trying to shift the blame any way he can.
Classic case of avoiding accountability, and it just makes the situation worse.
Totally. And, his story doesn't even add up. He claims he was approaching the stop sign slowly, but the damage to the truck tells a different story.
Aha. So the evidence doesn't lie.
Nope. And it just goes to show how, our biases and emotions can really distort our perception of events.
Totally. We see what we want to see, even if it's not the whole truth.
All right, so before we jump into some juicy workplace drama, let's take a quick breather and reflect on what we've learned so far. It's amazing how these cases, they seem so simple on the surface, but they reveal so much about human nature.
It really is fascinating. We see how emotions can cloud our judgment, how assumptions can lead to conflict, and how even the simplest misunderstandings can blow up into huge legal battles.
And we're just getting started.
All right, so are you ready for some workplace drama?
Always. Bring it on.
Okay, so this next case is called Baby Mama Drama at Work, and it's about two women, Kiana and Diamond, who share a child's father.
Oh, sounds like trouble.
It is. Their personal feud ends up spilling over into their workplace, and, well, let's just say things get pretty ugly.
So, what happened? Did they get into a fight at work?
Well, it was more of a, ongoing conflict. They accused each other of all sorts of things, like damaging property and harassment. Kiana even filed a restraining order against Diamond.
Whoa, a restraining order. That's serious.
It is, but it was later dismissed on procedural grounds.
On procedural grounds. What does that even mean? Was the harassment not real?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean the allegations were false. It could be something like, incorrect filing procedures or not having enough evidence to meet the legal requirements for a restraining order.
So, even if there was real harassment, the case could get thrown out because of a technicality.
Yeah, unfortunately that can happen. It's a reminder that the legal system can be tricky to navigate.
Okay, so that makes sense. But still, it sounds like a nightmare to have that kind of drama happening at work.
Oh, totally. It creates a hostile environment for everyone, not just the people directly involved. And it can really impact productivity, too.
All right, so let's move on to a case that's all about contracts, or the lack thereof. It's called the Wedding Planner's Unpaid Bills. And it involves a wedding planner who sues her friend for not paying for her services.
Oh, man. Mixing business and friendship can be dangerous.
Right. So the friend, Kayla, she claims she thought a lot of the wedding expenses were gifts, but she only paid the planner $50.
$50 for a whole wedding? Come on, that's ridiculous. Even if some things were gifts, you can't just expect someone to plan your entire wedding for free.
Exactly. And, she claims she was waiting for her tax return to pay, but then she spent $4,000 of her own money on other wedding stuff.
Whoa, hold on. So she had money to spend on the wedding, but not to pay the planner. That doesn't add up.
It's like she was living in a fantasy world, wanting this dream wedding without facing the financial realities.
It's like she wanted the cake and to eat it too.
Exactly. In this case, it really highlights the importance of having clear contracts, especially when you're dealing with friends or family.
Absolutely. Contracts protect everyone involved. They lay out the expectations and the payment terms, so there's no room for misunderstanding.
All right, so remember that car loan chaos case we talked about earlier? The guy who crashed the Mercedes and then got a Tesla?
Oh, yeah, the one who thought the loan was a gift.
That's him. So he actually tried to claim in court that he thought the money was a gift because they were really cool.
Really cool. Seriously, that's the best excuse he could come up with.
Right, it's like he was trying to play the we're buddies, so it's all good card.
But, like, friendship doesn't mean you get a free pass on your financial obligations.
Exactly. A loan is a loan, even if it's between friends. And his actions after the Mercedes crash really showed how little he cared about repaying the money.
Right. He goes and gets a Tesla, which is not exactly a cheap car.
And his justification, he claimed he had the cash because he run this business managing housing for traveling nurses.
So he's got money for a Tesla, but not to repay a $1,500 loan. That's a bit fishy, don't you think?
Totally. It seems like he was more concerned with keeping up appearances than with being financially responsible.
Yeah, it's all about priorities, isn't it?
Okay, let's talk about a case that shows why transparency is so important when making agreements, especially financial ones. This one's called the repossessed Dodge Charger. It's about this guy, William, who sells his car to his friend Clinton for $10,000, but there's a catch.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the catch?
William had taken out title loans on the car, but he didn't tell Clinton about them.
Whoa, that's shady. Why wouldn't he tell his friend about that?
I know, right? It's like he was setting Clinton up for failure. And then, when Clinton misses a payment, William repossesses the car.
Wait, he repossessed it? Even though Clinton was making payments?
Yeah, and their contract actually allowed for 2 missed payments before repossession.
So he didn't even follow the terms of their agreement. That's messed up.
Totally. And William even tried to change the payment terms midstream, demanding Clinton pay the current payment and any late payments.
Hold on, can you even do that? Just change a contract like that without the other person's consent?
Nope. Contracts are legally binding, and any changes need to be agreed upon by both parties.
So William was basically trying to pull a fast one on his friend.
Pretty much. He was taking advantage of their friendship and trying to manipulate the situation to his benefit.
So what happened? Did Judge Judy let him get away with it?
Not a chance. Judge Judy saw right through his scheme and ruled in favor of Clinton.
Good for her. She always sticks up for what's right.
Yep. She awarded Clinton $2,500 to cover the cost of renting a car for the time he had the Dodge Charger. And she made it clear that you can't just repossess a car whenever you feel like it, especially if you're not following the terms of your agreement.
That's a good lesson for everyone. Contracts matter. You need to read them carefully. Make sure you understand what you're agreeing to.
All right, so remember Kiana and Diamond, the baby mama drama duo? Well, guess what? They're back in Judge Judy's courtroom.
Oh no, not again. What did they do this time?
Well, this time it's a whole new set of accusations and counterclaims. It's like their drama just keeps escalating.
It's like they thrive on conflict. Maybe they need their own reality show.
Seriously. So Kiana, she claims she has audio recordings and video footage to prove that Diamond vandalized her car and harassed her at work.
Okay, that's pretty serious stuff. Did she bring the evidence to court?
That's the thing she didn't.
What? Why not? If she had proof, wouldn't she want to show it to the judge?
You'd think so, right? But for some reason, she didn't present any of it.
That's suspicious. Makes you wonder if the evidence really exists.
Right, so without any proof, it basically becomes a he said, she said situation.
Exactly. And in those cases, it can be really tough for the judge to determine who's telling the truth. Evidence is key in legal proceedings. You can't just make accusations without anything to back them up.
All right, so what was the verdict in this round of baby mama drama?
Well, Judge Judy, she had enough of their nonsense. She dismissed both cases and basically told them to grow up and put their kids first.
Oh, snap. Classic Judge Judy. She cuts through the BS and gets to the heart of the matter.
And she's not afraid to call people out on their bad behavior.
Exactly. It's a reminder that sometimes the best course of action is to just walk away from a conflict, especially when children are involved.
Agreed. Sometimes peace is better than being right. Okay, let's talk about a case that really shows what happened when you try to dodge responsibility. This one is called the hit-and-run heartbreaker.
Oh, yeah, this is the one with the classic pickup truck, right?
That's the one. So this guy, John, he hits his neighbor's truck while it's parked on the street and then tries to come up with this crazy story to explain it away.
Yeah, he said he had to swerve to avoid some oncoming headlights, but the video footage showed there were no other cars around.
Exactly. It was pretty obvious he was just trying to avoid getting in trouble. And, like, leaving the scene of an accident, that's a big no-no.
Especially when there's property damage involved.
Right. It's a serious offense, and it can lead to some pretty hefty consequences, like fines, license suspension, even jail time in some cases.
And his wife, Heather, she didn't help matters either. She kept trying to jump in and defend him, even though he wasn't even there when it happened.
Oh, yeah, Heather. She was something else. But, you know, that happens a lot in Judge Judy's courtroom. People try to chime in with their opinions and hearsay, but Judge Judy always shuts that down.
Right, because it's not admissible evidence. It's just gossip, basically.
Exactly. In court, you need facts and evidence, not just stories and opinions. And speaking of evidence, remember how Bobby, the truck owner, had a hard time proving how much it would cost to repair his truck because it was a classic.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Like, how do you put a price tag on a classic car?
Right. It's not like you can just go to any mechanic and get a standard estimate.
So how did Judge Judy handle that situation?
Well, she was pretty fair about it. She awarded Bobby $2,000 for the damages, but she also gave him the option to take his case to small claims court if he thought he could prove a higher amount.
That makes sense. It's like she gave him some immediate compensation, but also acknowledged that he might be entitled to more.
Exactly. She always tries to find a solution that's fair to both parties. Okay, one last case for today, the motorcycle mishap. This one involves motorcyclist Amari, who gets hit by a driver, April, who is making a left turn.
Okay, so a classic left turn accident. Those are pretty common, right?
Yeah, they were, but that then has a twist. Amari was lane splitting.
Lane splitting, that's where motorcycles drive between lanes of traffic, right?
Yep, and it's actually legal in California, but it can be pretty dangerous, especially if other drivers aren't paying attention.
Right, because motorcycles are so much smaller than cars. It's easy for them to get overlooked.
Exactly, and in this case, April, the driver, she clearly wasn't paying attention. And to make matters worse, it turns out she didn't even have car insurance.
What? No insurance. That's crazy.
I know. Not only is it illegal, it's just plain irresponsible. If you're going to drive, you need to have insurance. It's not just about protecting yourself, it's about protecting others on the road.
So what happened? Did Amari get compensated for the damages?
She did. Judge Judy ruled in her favor and awarded her the full value of her motorcycle, which was $6,450. And in true Judge Judy fashion, she gave April a good scolding about the importance of being a responsible driver.
It's like Judge Judy is not just a judge, she's also a life coach.
Right. Is always dropping those wisdom bombs.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the wild world of Judge Judy. What a ride, right?
It really was. We saw some crazy cases, but we also learned some valuable lessons.
Yeah, like the importance of communication, contracts, and personal responsibility.
Absolutely. It's amazing how those themes come up again and again in so many different situations. It's like Judge Judy is holding up a mirror to society and showing us what happens when we don't follow those basic principles.
And she's not afraid to tell it like it is.
Nope. No sugarcoating with Judge Judy.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, if it's not right, don't do it. Stay EII.